Hi everyone, another day, another share. Today I want to share a little project. Well, it's not a little project, it's a very big project. I had a client come to me and give me bags and bags, this size of bag, just huge amounts of bags to make some quilts out of her nephew's clothing. I've already done the two nephews' clothing. Now I'm doing her sister's, the mother of the two boys. And this is what I've come up with. Little blocks like this. Just random. Now they are measured by a certain amount. This one's a little harder in the sense that I'm running out of large pieces. So I'm going to be piecing together. I have a few large pieces. So there was this t-shirt, I just cut it to size. So when I think the client was planning to do this herself, and unfortunately, I think she realized that she could not completely do it on her own. So what happened was she had pre-cut squares like this, so squares and rectangles. So that was my basis to get the size. So I put together, did a measurement based on what she wanted, and I've started putting, like, I have strips of stuff. So whatever, as long as I get to the size that I need to be able to make the blocks. Now I believe I have to do 42 to make the size that she wants. I finding it, and we have every type of fabric. I mean, just every type of fabric. So we have lots of different ones. I just put in pieces that we have, and hopefully I will get the last ones done. So I'm going to show you the steps of doing something like this, okay? So I'm just going to put these over here. So the first thing we want to do is we want to go through the bag, and I'm not going to use this bag. Hold on. Let's see what I have in here. All right, so I have some cotton fabric. I think they're baby blankets or baby blankets. And I'm just going to iron this. I'm just going to get this out of the way. I'm going to iron this. And I like to stabilize it. Now this fabric, this particular fabric does not need to be stabilized. It's not stretchy or anything. But any t-shirt fabric, any fabric that has a stretch to it, you really want to make sure that you are stabilizing it. So I'm going to, and this I can do a big piece, so I can get one done quite quickly with a big piece. So you're going to get something that is, it's from Pellon, Fusible Sheerweight White. I use white because I don't want to discolor anything, because you're working with all different types of fabrics and colors and lightness and darknesses of the fabrics. So you want something. So this is a sheer weight stabilizer. One side has a finish, like a glue side, and the other side does not. So I'm going to take this piece. I'm just going to move that over there. And we are going to, this is the glue side out, and it's bubbly. You'll know it has little dots on and it's bubbly. So I'm just going to put this together, and I think that's good enough. And I'm just going to rough cut. Now I use about a bolt per quilt, depending on the size and how many t-shirts or fabrics or clothing pieces that a client has brought me. So I'm just going to, actually, I'm going to turn this over because I want my iron to be directly on this fabric. And I like to cut down after I have put the stabilizer on. Sometimes you can't, like I said, she had done some pre-cutting herself, and so I could not, I had to cut them to size, and then I sewed them together, and then I put stabilizer on. So I had to cut this down to whatever size that I could get from all her pre-cuts, and I had to cut this down to fit. So I had to measure, rough measure. She was pretty good with her cutting, though they were a little skewed and not quite square. I don't think she had the tools to do this kind of work. So she ended up bringing it to me. So then what I did was I took these two pieces and sewed them together very carefully, and then I stabilized them after the fact. So I'm actually going to grab a darker one because this is a lighter fabric. And now, so that is stabilized on. I'm just going to check this side. There we go. And then I'm just going to cut off the excess that did not yet get stabilized. Now, like I said, this fabric, I don't have to technically stabilize, but I want that extra weight in there anyways because of the fact that that I'm putting it in some, so I want consistency. So now I need to put up my cutting board. I'm just going to move that over there. So I'm going to put up my cutting board, and we want these square to about 13 1/4. Funny size, but this is what these fabrics sometimes do. Don't forget, these are clothing. They've been washed, worn. Some of them had holes in the knees. Like these boys were very active boys. Just by looking at their clothes, I'm sure they were very active. So what I want to do now is figure out, so I'm going to cut this. I'm going to get a straight edge here. And I just got to figure this out. Hold on. So if I cut, yeah, that's what I want to do. Okay. It's not going to be perfectly straight, but that's okay. There we go. I'm just going to grab my ruler, which is over here. And I'm just going to square this side up. Now I folded it and lined it up on the lines of the cutting mat. And I'm going to square this edge up. And I'm going to go ahead and cut it 13 1/4, I said, right? Yeah, they're kind of averaging 13 1/4. Sometimes they're a little, yeah, that's about a quarter. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 and a quarter. And we'll cut that off. So this I'll put in the pile with the other stabilized pieces because it could be used somewhere else. And now I have this to square. I just want to square up one side because I'm going to sew this piece to that side before I'm going to square up this side. And there we go. So there. So now I can sew this piece to this piece. So I'm just going to go right sides together, and I'm going to go to the sewing machine and get this sewn down. Okay, so to the sewing machine. And again, you're just going to take a 1/4 inch. I'm actually going to put it on this side. You're just going to take a 1/4 inch. And there we go. So now this can be squared up to the 13 1/4. Okay, I just need to move this again because I don't want to warp my board. And we're just going to iron. There's a seam right here, but I don't care. I do not care. So we're just going to quickly iron this. And then we are going to put our board back up. And we're going to square this off to 13 1/4. Now I know this side has already been squared up. I just have to cut this side. So I'm going to line this edge as best I can. It's not going to be perfect, but I'm not going to worry about it. And I'm going to go ahead and square this one up to 13 1/4. And there we go. So this is finished, block finished. So now I'm going to take a funny shape and show you how we can get pieces to fit. So I have this pant leg. This is the side seam. This was one of the crotch seams, I believe. Not sure. So now I need to kind of decide which way it's going to go. So I'm going to actually square this side up and then flip it. So I'm going to get this to a straight line as best I can. All right, so there's a straight line there, and that's garbage. And now I'm going to just sew this. Now I could go in and square this up to 13 1/2. I could, 13 1/4. But what I'm going to do is I'm just going to sew it like this. And then I'll square up after. All right, so to the sewing machine we go. All right, I'm just going to sew this in. Now this stripe fabric is stretchy. It's like a little, I guess, pajamas or something. So you really need to stabilize the stretchy fabrics. There we go. Now I'm just going to move this out of the way. And we're just going to iron this. Get rid of that. And we're just going to iron this. I think I'm going to iron it from this side. It doesn't like. There we go. Okay, sorry, I forgot to switch it out to the the overhead camera. So there we go. So that's done. Now I'm just going to get the iron out of the way, and I'm going to get my mat back up, and we are going to, now this is not wide enough to get 13 1/2, so we're going to have to put another piece. So I'm going to cut it down to 9 1/2. And I'm doing that because I want a decent piece to go here if I can. So 9 1/2. I'll cut this off. Now I'm not going to get rid of this. This is big enough to put a nice strip or a part of something on something else. There we go. So I'm going to put this back into the pile, and hopefully I'll be able to use it. So now I'm going to grab something else. But before I put this on, this should take me past, but we'll see. So before I take this, and it might not be wide enough. I'll have to do some quick thinking. I'm going to square this up. There we go. That's garbage. And I'm going to turn it and line this up, line everything up along a seam, along a line, and square it up. There we go. Done. So that's been squared up. But it, like I said, it's not really wide enough. So I'm wondering, so this is wide enough this way. And yeah, it should be okay. Maybe not. Hold on. Ooh, better be careful. Okay. I'm going to lose a 1/2 inch. It's going to be tight. So I think I'm not going to use this piece. Let's see if I have, let's see if this piece, this is a little wider, so I'd have to square. This is perfect. Okay. So this is a little wider. So I'll square those up on the sides after I've sewn it. And let's just move over to the sewing machine. Taking children's clothing or your teen t-shirts or something and making a quilt out of them is a great way. They've grown out of the t-shirts or the clothing. They have worn them out, whatever the case may be. And it's really nice to be able to turn them into something that they can use into a quilt like this, and they have all those memories from those clothings. They had favorite t-shirts as a child or a teenager, and they get to continue enjoying those. So now I'm going to square here, and hopefully I have enough, but I'm going to be cutting it down, so I'm not going to worry too much if I have enough. So here we are. I am going to line this up, and I'm going to cut this, just enough. Just enough on this side. This becomes garbage. It's just too small to be working with at this point. So there we go. And now I'm just going to square up these sides. I'm going to mark this onto the line. It's pretty tight, but I have enough. There we go, garbage. And you know what? I'm sorry. I forgot to switch out. I'm so sorry. So I had enough. I cut this down, and this was the piece. And I just had enough down here to get the width that I wanted. The width this way. Now I'm just squaring up the two sides. So I squared this side up. Now I'm going to do this side, and I'm just going to line everything up as best I can. It's not going to be perfect, but once it's in the quilt, nobody's going to know. Nobody's going to know. There we go. So there it is. And I have 2 more blocks quickly done, and I'm really, really happy. So great way to use up children's clothing or making a memory quilt with t-shirts. You might have a husband and yourself going to concerts and buying all those concert t-shirts, and now they're looking a little shabby, they've been washed too much, but you still don't want to throw them out because you have that memory that's on those t-shirts. So I think it would be really, really great to have the t-shirts put into a quilt, and this is how you go about doing it. If you have t-shirts, you would measure all your t-shirts and come up with a size that will work, and then map it out on paper, however works best for you. I kind of do free form when I do t-shirt quilts. I will decide that this t-shirt is this size, and I work on increments of 2. So if I have a t-shirt where there's a logo here, I will measure that out, and I might cut it at 4.5 to finish at 4, and then I might cut a block out at 8.5 and put 2 4.5s, so 4s to beside an 8, and I would just randomly fill and work, but I always work in numbers of 2, even numbers. So if I'm working with blocks of 12, I want to work with other blocks that are 6, or if I'm working with 6 and I want to put 2 smaller blocks to measure up at 6, they're 3.5 cuts. So you always work in increments of even and odd numbers that work together. All right, so we'll see you on the next Other Day, Another Share. Bye-bye.